Hey guy, close your eyes and drift back over 2,000 years ago to the golden city of Alexandria, where warm winds carry the scent of lotus blossoms and crushed myrrh through the palace corridors. The sun sets slowly over the Mediterranean, casting honeyed light across marble steps, polished floors, and towering pillars carved with ancient gods. Tonight, let the world of Queen Cleopatra gently guide you into restful sleep. Let the hush of linen curtains, the shuffle of bare feet on cool stone, and the whispered plans of the most powerful court in the world soften your thoughts and slow your breath. You are not a guest here, not a noble from Rome or a warrior from Nubia. You are a palace slave, a quiet figure blending into the corners of gilded halls, unnoticed unless you falter. You wake before dawn, labor until the last lamp is snuffed, and sleep where the rats dare walk. But you are also a witness to Cleopatra's perfume as it trails behind her silk robes, to Caesar's guarded letters, to Mark Antony's drunken laughter echoing through the bathhouse. In the hours ahead, you will scrub marble with blistered hands, carry jugs heavier than your body, listen for secrets you cannot repeat, and stand silent while the world changes around you. This is not a tale of thrones and crowns, but of sandals and sand, dust and heat, hunger and fear, of a life lived low but dangerously close to history's fire. Would you survive it? Could you endure the trials of the palace unseen, the cruel days, the uncertain nights, the weight of silence? Now, breathe softly. The sun has set, and your journey begins. The marble floor of morning. The air is still when you wake, caught between darkness and the first whispers of morning. You are on the hard stone floor, curled in a corner of the slave quarters, your body tangled among others. Breaths rise and fall like the tide. Your body tangled among others. Breaths rise and fall like the tide. You don't know how long you slept. It never matters. The body rests when it can. The palace wakes before the sun does. A guard's voice barks from outside, hoarse with boredom. Up hall sweepers. His sandals slap once against the doorframe. Then nothing. You rise slowly, joints stiff, mouth dry. Your tunic clings to your skin, damp from Alexandria's coastal heat that never quite leaves. You stretch only briefly, there is no time. You've been assigned to the marble corridor again today. Outside the slave quarters, the palace breathes. Oil lamps flicker along the base of mosaic walls, casting golden reflections on polished stone. You walk barefoot down a quiet hall, broom in hand. Your footsteps echo back to you in rhythm. You pass a statue of Horus near the courtyard. You do not meet his eyes. Looking directly at the gods invites trouble, or at least another chore, and you're already late. The marble corridor waits for you like a test, 30 paces long, 300 lotus tiles in the center mosaic. You know them by heart. You've scrubbed this floor so many times your knees have memorized the grooves. You kneel without a word, dipping your rag into the basin beside you. Cold water stings your knuckles where the skin cracked yesterday. It mixes with old soap and the faint scent of citrus peel left behind by one of the kitchen girls. The work begins. You scrub in quiet arcs, clockwise, always clockwise. That's the rule in royal halls. The marble is pale and veined with pink, a gift from Greece. You're told it came by ship, long before you were born, carved by artisans who wore gold on their wrists. Now it shines beneath your rag, and you are nothing but hands. Another slave joins you. Her name is Amose, though no one uses names aloud here. She scrubs in silence beside you, shoulders trembling slightly from a cough she won't admit. She once told you she used to live across the water, near the island of Pharos. She dreamed of seeing the lighthouse. You scrub in rhythm with her now, two quiet figures among gods and ghosts. Down the hall, voices grow louder. A steward approaches with clinking sandals and a voice like vinegar. He inspects the floor by dragging the edge of his heel along the tiles. Faster, he mutters. The queen's sandals should never touch dust. Then he is gone. You do not sigh. You do not stop. You keep scrubbing, fingers aching, spine tight as a drawn bow. Outside the open window, the city of Alexandria stirs. Seagulls cry over the harbor. Distant vendors begin to shout beneath the colonnades. But none of that belongs to you. Your world is this corridor, this red ferret, in the silent hope that you will not be noticed. By midday, your hands shake from hunger. No one brings food until the midday bell, and even then, it's barley mash and bitter greens if there's anything at all. You sip from the cleaning basin when no one is watching. The sun rises higher. The floor gleams. You finish your section just as the queen's procession approaches. You kneel against the wall, head bowed low. You hear her before you see her. The soft sweep of fine linen, the jingle of tiny gold beads, the whisper of guards' feet around her like a shield. She does not speak. She never speaks in the corridors, only walks. Cleopatra passes. The hem of her robe brushes your knuckles as she goes by. You do not flinch. You do not look up. You simply breathe. And for now, you have survived the morning. The perfume of power. The corridors twist like a snake today. You're summoned by the perfumer's apprentice again. No reason given, but you know better than to ask. You carry two large clay jars cradled against your chest, heavy with pressed oils from cedar and rose. Your arms strain from the weight. One jar alone would be enough to wobble your steps, but two, they feel like they were carved from stone instead of clay. The palace smells different as you walk, not of sweat and soap like the slave quarters, but of crushed petals, resin, and citrus. It's heavy, warm, luxurious. It wraps around you like silk too fine for your skin. It's heavy, warm, luxurious. It wraps around you like silk too fine for your skin. You walk through the hall of painted birds, stepping lightly over a peacock mosaic that stares at you with 1,000 jeweled eyes. You're not allowed to step on the feathers. It's a rule you heard once, and one you'll never test. Your feet ache. A blister burst last night beneath your heel, and now each step burns. But you say nothing. You hold the jars tighter, your fingers numb where they press into the handles. You reach the perfumery chamber. It's small, but filled with colors in glass and herbs from lands you've only heard about in overheard stories. A large copper bowl rests in the center. It simmers gently over a flame, filled with oil and crushed hibiscus. The perfumer himself is not here, but the queen's apprentice is. A thin woman with oiled hair and sharp eyes. She points to the jars without a word. You lower them slowly, trying not to let your arms shake, trying not to breathe too loud. You'll stay, she says finally. She may come today. Her voice is light, but her meaning is heavy. You nod once. Slaves do not speak unless spoken to. You learned that your first week. Time passes differently in this room. The scent of warm oils thickens the air. Your head spins a little, but you don't sit. You can't. You must stand ready. She arrives not long after, Cleopatra, or as they call her in the halls behind closed doors, the last pharaoh. Her entrance is quiet, but the air changes as she moves. The apprentice bows so low her hair brushes the floor. You drop to your knees, head bowed. Is the new mixture ready? The queen asks. Her voice is low and soft, with an accent that doesn't quite belong to Egypt alone. Yes, my queen. The apprentice says quickly. Would you like the cedar or the lotus today? There is a pause. Then, both. A smile and the word. The apprentice begins to blend. You stay kneeling, still as a statue, but your eyes watch the queen from beneath your lashes, not directly, never directly, just enough to see the outline of her robe, the glint of gold on her wrist, the curl of her black hair. She walks to the copper bowl and breathes in. Stronger with the lotus, she says, and you watch the apprentice obey in silence. The queen turns slowly. Her eyes scan the room. They land on you for a single moment. You don't blink. You don't breathe. Then, just as quickly, she looks away. Your heart pounds against your ribs like a fist on a door, but you do not move. You do not exist, unless she allows it. At last she leaves. Her scent remains, a trail of lotus, cedar, and honeyed musk. The apprentice speaks only once more. You may go. And you do, quietly, barefoot, head down, but you carry the scent with you, clinging to your skin like a secret. One wrong move, and you could have dropped those jars, been whipped, sent to the pit, but you did not. You survived again, and today you smelled power. Whispers behind linen. Fairy, the linens are being washed today. Great swaths of pale fabric ripple from the balconies, billowing like sails above the palace courtyard, and behind them, voices carry. You were meant to be in the laundry storeroom, folding towels stained with oils and wine, but a steward's order redirected you. Help with the curtains, he said, tossing a bundle of wet cloth into your arms. So now you're here, threading between linen walls that dance in the wind. The sunlight filters through them, soft and warm, turning your world into a blur of ivory and gold. You hang one curtain at a time, stretching high, pinning loops of fabric to bronze hooks above the colonnade walkway. Your hands are red from scrubbing soap into the stone basin earlier. Your arms are tired, but your ears are open. Voices drift from behind the linen to your right. Two of the palace guards. You recognize one by the way he spits when he talks. They speak in hushed tones, but the words still find you. She met with the Roman again, one says. Caesar's letters come sealed with the eagle. The other grunts. And now what? He'll crown her queen of Rome too? A low laugh. Maybe she'll crown him consort of Egypt instead. You work more slowly now. Not enough to be noticed, but enough to catch the rest of the conversation. You fold the damp edge of a curtain carefully over your wrist. Keep your eyes down. She's dangerous, one of them mutters. Too clever, too calm, too Roman, the other finishes. A pause. Then one spits again. The gods will judge it. You pin the last hook into place and step back. The curtain settles silently behind you, hiding the guards once more. You don't look back. You move on, but your mind does not. The Queen and Caesar. There have been rumors for weeks. Yes, but hearing them in a soldier's mouth makes them feel heavier. You move to the next row of linens. The sun has climbed high now. Your back is wet with sweat beneath your tunic. The linen against your arms sticks and clings like wet seaweed, but you keep moving. Near the west wall, you hear another voice. This one's softer, female, a noblewoman by the sound of her tongue. She's speaking to a servant you don't recognize. I saw him, she whispers, riding by moonlight. He thinks no one sees. The servant says nothing. She doesn't have to. The noblewoman's voice lowers further. If those scrolls reach Rome, she won't need to fight anyone. She'll own them with ink alone. You place another curtain gently on the line, cloth damp and cool in your hands. Your mind spins. What scrolls? Who writes by moonlight? Is it the queen herself? You've learned not to ask, but that doesn't stop you from wondering and from remembering. Every word you hear is a weight you must carry but never show. Later, the steward returns to inspect the rows. He nods without looking at you. Good, he mutters. Go help in the scenting room. They're preparing linens for the queen's chamber. They're preparing linens for the queen's chamber. You bow your head and obey, but as you walk, you replay the voices behind the fabric, the Roman letters, the scrolls, the warning about her eyes and her calm. No whip touched your back today. No basin spilled. No plate was broken in your hand. But still, the risk was real. One wrong glance, one misplaced pause near a curtain, and someone might wonder why you listened so well. Surviving the court is not just about silence. It's about hearing what no one thinks you hear and never letting it show. And today, you have survived again. The gaze of the queen, and the marble beneath your feet is warm today. The morning sun has already crept high over the palace walls, heating the stone until it hums softly through your sandals. You've been summoned to the queen's private bath chamber, a place you've only glimpsed through cracked doors. You carry folded linens, freshly scented, rose water and cinnamon bark. They are warm from the sun, wrapped tight in layers of soft cotton cloth. A senior servant gestures silently to you. You place the linens where she points on a low stool near the edge of the pool. Then you step back, kneel, wait. The bath chamber is quiet when you arrive, not empty, but quiet. Steam curls from the surface of the water in a marble pool, curling up toward the painted ceiling. Columns frame the space like arms around a secret. The gaze of the queen, and the marble beneath your feet is warm today. The morning sun has already crept high over the palace walls, heating the stone until it hums softly through your sandals. You've been summoned to the queen's private bath chamber, a place you've only glimpsed through cracked doors. You carry folded linens, freshly scented, rose water and cinnamon bark. They are warm from the sun, wrapped tight in layers of soft cotton cloth. The bath chamber is quiet when you arrive, not empty, but quiet. Steam curls from the surface of the water in a marble pool, curling up toward the painted ceiling. Columns frame the space like arms around a secret. A senior servant gestures silently to you. You place the linens where she points on a low stool near the edge of the pool. Then you step back, kneel, wait. Your breath slows. The scent here is heavy, blue lotus and olive oil, and something bitter you can't name. It clings to your skin, fills your nostrils. A soft splash echoes through the chamber, and then footsteps, not rushed, not loud, bare feet on warm marble, and you know she is here. Cleopatra enters. You don't look. You don't need to. The energy in the room changes, like the air thickens around her. Her voice murmurs something to the senior servant. Then silence. You keep your head bowed low, your fingers curl into the folds of your tunic, gripping the cloth just enough to keep them still. You feel your heartbeat in your ears. Stand, she says softly, and it takes you a moment to realize she's speaking to you. You rise, slowly, cautiously, your gaze fixed just below her chin, as trained. Her robe is thin, damp at the edges. Her skin glows with moisture. There is gold on her wrists, and a silver ring coiled like a snake at her finger. She studies you. You feel her eyes run over your face, your posture, your hands, not with cruelty, but with interest. How long have you served? She asks. You hesitate a fraction too long. The senior servant answers for you. Since the Alexandrian fire, my queen. 3 years. Cleopatra hums low in her throat. And still not broken, she murmurs. That's rare. You don't know what to say, so you say nothing. It is safer that way. She steps toward you. Not much. Just enough for the scent of her oil to reach you fully. Jasmine, sharp and real. Her eyes are dark and lined with kohl, but there is something behind them, something tired. She lifts her hand. For a moment, you think she will touch you. You brace for it. But no, she only adjusts her ring. The silver snake glints in the steam. Then she turns away. That will be all, she says. Not to you, but to the room. You drop into a bow, deeper than you've done all week. Your knees ache, but you don't move until the senior servant gestures you out. Only then do you back away, step by step, never turning your back. Outside the chamber, the air feels thin. You inhale deeply, as if you've been underwater. She looked at you, not past you, not through you, at you. You should feel honored. You should feel terrified. You feel both. No whip cracked across your back, no command screamed in your face. But few things are as dangerous as the queen's attention, and somehow you have survived it. Dinner for the divine. The kitchens roar today, not with fire, but with urgency. Bread is baking, lamb is turning over open flame, dried fruits are being soaked in honeyed wine. Tonight is a banquet, a grand one. The queen will dine with foreign guests, and the palace must gleam. You are handed a tray of goblets, gold rimmed, carved with falcons and lotuses. You must polish them until they reflect a face that isn't yours. You rub each one with lemon peel and cloth, breathing slow to keep your hands from shaking. The Hall of Isis is already lit when you arrive. Torches burn with scented oils, casting long shadows on frescoes of winged goddesses. You walk barefoot across the cold tiles, balancing the tray. Every step must be sure. Servants decorate the low tables. Grapes are arranged like pyramids. Figs are cut open to reveal their jeweled insides. A bowl of honey glows in the torchlight. You're assigned to the north corner, near the musicians. It's your job to refill wine cups and bring more fruit from the hallway platter table. It sounds simple. It never is. The guests arrive just before sunset. Nobles, priests, Roman men in sandals that leave dust on the floor, women with gold rings stacked to their elbows. Their laughter slices through the chamber like soft blades. You keep your head down, but you see enough to know who matters. There, by the central couch, is Cleopatra herself, reclining in linen dyed with saffron, more expensive than anything you'll ever touch. Her crown glints like fire above her braided hair. Musicians begin to play. A soft flute, a rhythm tapped with bronze finger cymbals. You move between guests. refilling cups when a hand lifts lazily. No words are spoken to you. You are a shadow that carries drink and fruit and disappears. A Roman man drops a fig onto the floor. He laughs, gestures to it. You kneel, pick it up, and place it into a waste bowl without a sound. He pats your head like a dog. You do not flinch. Later, you bring more honeyed wine. The amphora is nearly too heavy. Your arms strain as you pour slowly, carefully, into a queen's goblet held by one of her handmaidens. One drop spills, just one. It lands on the cloth beside the table. No one sees, or perhaps no one cares. Still, your heart hammers in your chest for the next 10 breaths. 10 breaths where anything could happen. 10 breaths where survival is decided by silence. Cleopatra speaks. Her voice rises above the music for a moment. She tells a story about Julius Caesar and a crocodile in the Nile. The room laughs when she does. It's polite laughter, controlled, fearful. You don't laugh. You refill a bowl of olives. You kneel again. You back away. The meal stretches into night. The flames burn low. The food grows quiet, cold, untouched on silver plates. At last, the queen rises. When she leaves, everyone else begins to follow. The music fades. The guests vanish in murmured clusters of perfume and silk. You stay behind to clean, to collect the scraps, to return the goblets and fold the cloth napkins stained with wine and pomegranate juice. You taste a fig someone left behind. Just one bite. Sweet as a dream, dangerous as memory. The hall is silent now. The gods on the frescoes look down, unmoved. You move through torchlight and ash, with sore feet and sorer thoughts. But you made no mistake tonight. No tray dropped, no wrong look, no misplaced word. You lived in the queen's presence, and you are still breathing for now. That is enough. The arrival of Caesar. The palace is restless today. Something is coming. You can feel it in the way the guards polish their armor twice over, the way the stewards shout more than they speak. Even the doves nesting near the granary have flown. Word spreads like steam from a boiling pot. He is here. Just that. No name, but everyone knows who he is. Julius Caesar, Rome's most powerful general, the man behind Cleopatra's rising star, the reason you were beaten once for spilling wine the day she received his letter. You are assigned to the courier's hallway today, a quiet passage near the scroll room. You carry messages from one scribe to another, from steward to diplomat, from hallway to hall. Nothing important, except everything is important today. You move carefully between marble pillars. Your hands grip a scroll sealed with blue wax. You don't know what it says. You'll never know. But the wax bears the mark of a Roman eagle. Your bare feet make no sound on the floor. You breathe slow, steady, just as you were trained. One mistake in this wing, and your name may disappear from the scrolls of life itself. Voices echo as you approach the library antechamber. Latin, harsh and tight. The tongue of Rome. You don't speak it, but you know the rhythm. Inside, Caesar sits. You don't see his face directly, but you see the edge of his cloak, the worn leather of his sandals, the curve of his back as he leans over a low desk piled with scrolls. He speaks to a scribe. His words are short, clipped, commands more than conversation. You deliver your scroll to the steward at the door. He nods, but doesn't thank you. Slaves aren't meant to be thanked. You turn to leave. but a guard blocks your path. Wait, he says. He smells of leather and copper. The Roman wants more ink. You are handed a small pot of black ink and told to walk back carefully, very carefully. You carry it like a baby bird, 2 hands, no lid, no second chance if it spills. You return to the chamber door. The steward takes it without a word. But before you can step back, you hear him speak. Caesar said he saw the queen last night, privately. The scribe chuckles. She always finds her way into history. Then silence, then laughter again. You step away quietly, but the words press into your mind like hot wax. She always finds her way into history. You've never seen Cleopatra laugh. Not truly. You wonder what she sounds like when she does, or whether she did last night. The scrolls you carry back now are lighter, but more dangerous. Every one is sealed in red wax with foreign symbols. You do not ask. You do not peek. You walk. You deliver. You forget. That night, back in the slave quarters, no one speaks above a whisper. You hear that Caesar has moved into the east wing, that guards have changed positions, that there are scrolls moving at night now, too. You sleep with your arms around your knees, not from fear, not just from fear, but from exhaustion. This palace no longer belongs to Egypt alone. You feel it, and you are no closer to safety than you were before. Still, the scrolls were not spilled. The ink stayed inside the pot. You moved like wind through corridors filled with eagles, and no one saw you flinch. So once again, you have survived. The rats in the storeroom. The scent hits you first. Not perfume, not soap or rose oil, but mold, damp wood, rotting grain, rat droppings baked into the cracks of sun-warmed crates. You've been reassigned today. The steward told you without even looking up from his scroll. Storeroom detail, west chamber. Then he waved you off like dust from his robe. The west storeroom lies low and dark beneath the kitchen terrace. Light comes only from a tiny barred window high above. The smell lives in your throat almost immediately. You try not to breathe through your nose. Grain sacks lean against one another like dying men. Some have burst open at the seams. The floor is coated in a thin layer of pale powder and mouse droppings. You step carefully. Your job, sort the sacks. Remove any that have spoiled. Replace broken ones. Stack them higher to keep them dry when the Nile humidity rises again. You begin slowly, sack by sack, grain by grain. Your arms ache by the second pile. Your back knots itself into pain, and then you see it. Movement behind a crate. A rat, large as a kitten, scurries across the stone with a piece of dried fig in its mouth. You flinch. Instinct. You hate rats. There are more of them. You hear their claws. You smell their nests in the corners. You do not scream. You keep working. One sack splits in your hands. The grain spills like sand. You try to gather it, but it's already ruined. Mold has crept in unseen. By midday, the light through the barred window begins to fade. Your head pounds. You haven't eaten. The heat clings to your skin like damp cloth. Your stomach twists, but there's nothing to throw up. You sit just for a breath, just to stretch your legs. The moment your back touches the wall, you feel it cold and wet. You stand again quickly. The walls sweat down here. So do you. That night, back in the slave quarters, your body shakes with chills. Your skin burns in waves. You bury yourself under your thin cloth blanket, but it brings no warmth. You're sick, and you know it, not dying, not yet, but close enough that your body feels far away. No one brings water, no one brings herbs. Slaves must work until they can't. Then they are replaced. You've seen it. Amosi notices. She presses a fig into your palm the next morning, soft and warm from her pocket. Chew it slow, she says. Her voice is barely more than a breath. You do. It helps. Not enough, but just enough. The steward doesn't ask if you're well. He sends you back to the storeroom. More sacks, more rats. You work until your arms stop trembling. You keep moving until your head clears just enough to tell shadow from shape. No guard screamed at you today. No lash found your back, but the grain was rotten. The air was sick. The rats watched you, and the mold wanted your lungs. Still, you're here. Your breath is yours. Your feet still walk. And for one more day in Cleopatra's palace, you have survived. The execution courtyard. Purity. You hear the news before the bell. A slave has been caught stealing bread, they say, or maybe a copper ring. The story changes as it moves through mouths and corridors. But one thing is clear. Today, there will be a punishment, and you are ordered to witness it. The execution courtyard lies between the granary and the soldiers' barracks, a place of stone walls and no shade. You've passed it before, always empty, always avoided, not today. You walk there in a silent group of others like you, bare feet on cracked tiles, eyes low, hands clasped behind your backs so you do not fidget or gesture by mistake. The sun is harsh. It beats down from a cloudless sky, baking the sand into heat waves that shimmer like spirits. You stand in a line along the edge of the square. You say nothing. You do not blink too often. The accused is a boy, no older than you were when you first arrived. Thin, his tunic is torn at the shoulder. There's dust on his face from where they dragged him here. He says nothing. He doesn't cry. He only looks ahead, at nothing. A guard steps forward. His whip coils in his hand like a live thing. Another reads from a scroll. Theft, witnessed, proven. That's all. No trial. No voice raised in his defense. The sentence is given aloud. 10 lashes, and the mark of the palace burned into his shoulder. You breathe through your mouth, not because of the smell, but because of the silence. The kind of silence that hurts. The whip cracks. Once. Twice. Again. The sound is not sharp. It's wet. Flesh gives. Skin splits. And still, the boy does not scream. By the 7th lash, he sways. A guard holds him upright. His knees buckle anyway. The mark is heated in a brazier near the wall, a circle with a line through it, the sign of servitude. It is pressed to his skin. The smell turns your stomach. Burned cloth, burned meat. When it is over, he is dragged away, limp, alive, maybe, pure. The steward says nothing, no speech, no warning, just a glance to dismiss the crowd. You bow your head and leave, but your ears are still full of the whip. Your throat still tastes of copper. Your chest still feels tight. You didn't move, didn't speak. You did what you were told, and still, it could have been you. Later that evening, Amosi finds you near the laundry basins. She doesn't mention the courtyard. She simply hands you a strip of clean cloth. For your feet, she says. You're limping. You hadn't noticed, but you thank her, silently, with a glance. You wash linens until your fingers wrinkle. The bloodstains on the royal sheets feel easier to clean than the memories behind your eyes. There was no mistake today, but fear alone can wear a body down. Still, you are standing. Still, you are silent. Still, you are alive. So tonight, you have survived. The Garden of the Drowned God. You are sent to the garden pool today. A rare assignment, a gift, perhaps, or a test hidden behind jasmine leaves. It is early when you arrive. The sun is still soft, filtered through the tall reeds that line the edges of the marble steps. The garden is quiet, peaceful, and there, in the center, is the pool of the drowned gods. No one says that name aloud anymore, but the oldest slaves whisper it between themselves. The pool that once held statues of forgotten deities, now sunken, broken, scattered beneath water lilies and soft moss. You are here to clean the edge stones, remove fallen petals, scrub the moss where it's grown too thick, make it beautiful but not too alive. Your knees sink into the damp gravel at the water's edge. The stone is cold. It soaks through your tunic, but you don't complain. You dip your brush into the pool and begin to scrub. The water is cool. It smells faintly of mint and wet clay. Your fingers trail beneath the surface as you work, brushing past leaves and stems and something smooth, stone-shaped like a god's face. You pause only for a breath, not from fear, not even from reverence, but from something quieter, curiosity. Who did this god once belong to? Why was it drowned? And how did it come to rest beneath your hands, beneath the lilies and shadows of this hidden place? You do not ask. You do not lift it. You keep scrubbing. A white ibis walks across the far edge of the stones. It dips its beak into the water once, twice, then looks at you. You freeze. In Egyptian temples, they say that ibis carries the voice of Thoth, the god of scribes. You bow your head, not in worship, but in acknowledgement. The moment passes. The bird flies off. The garden becomes quiet again. Amosi arrives with a second brush. She kneels beside you without a word. The two of you work in silence, gentle strokes, two figures among drowned stone and living reed. The sun climbs. The perfume of crushed mint fills the air. For a moment, it feels like something softer than duty, almost like peace. But the palace bell rings from the upper tower, once, twice, loud enough to scatter the birds from the garden wall. Work is over here. You are summoned back to the hallway kitchens, to carry firewood, to scrub stone bowls with sand until your nails bleed. You rise, knees stiff. Your hands are green with algae. Your face is damp with garden mist and sweat. As you leave, you glance once over your shoulder. The pool reflects the sun, shimmering like a shield. The drowned face beneath the lilies is still. No one saw you pause today. No one scolded. No one noticed you existed at all. And sometimes that's the safest place to be. You did not speak to a queen, did not touch a scroll, did not serve a guest or spill a cup. You cleaned, you breathed, you moved like wind, and in the garden of forgotten gods, you survived. Letters for Rome. The scrolls are bound in red twine today. That means they're leaving the palace. That means Rome will read them. You're summoned early, barely after sunrise. The steward thrusts a wrapped bundle into your hands, tied tight and wax sealed at the ends, straight to the courier chamber. He mutters, "No delay." You bow and obey. You always do. But this morning feels heavier than most. The bundle is warm from his hands, the wax still soft around the seal. You glimpse the faint impression of a laurel crown pressed into the red. That is the mark of Caesar's hand. Your sandals pat the stone floors as you walk. The palace is just beginning to stir. Servants sweep dust from the corners. Gardeners prune the fig trees that grow near the marble balustrades. You pass the hall of maps, past the pillared court. You move silently. The scrolls in your arms weigh less than a clay jug, but far more in consequence. The courier chamber is quiet when you arrive. A large wooden table sits in the center, surrounded by scribes and two Roman guards. One of the scribes takes your bundle without a word. He unties the twine, examines the wax, nods once. You're about to leave when someone speaks. Not a scribe, a nobleman. Young, his tunic bears the deep green of an Alexandrian council family. You there, he says. His voice is curious, not cruel. You freeze. Yes, you. He steps closer. You carried those scrolls? You nod. Eyes down. Always down. Always down. He studies you for a long moment. Then he says something you've never heard from a noble in this palace. You have steady hands. A pause. That matters more than most people think. You blink, unsure whether it's a compliment or a warning. Before you can respond, if you even dared, he turns and walks away. The steward meets you in the hallway outside. You delivered it? You nod again. Good, he grunts. There'll be more soon. Rome doesn't sleep. You don't answer. Slaves don't speak about the affairs of empires, but in your mind, the scrolls remain. The red wax, the laurel seal, the name of Caesar pressed into parchment carried by your hands. That night, you wash your fingers longer than usual, as if the ink and wax might still linger there, as if the words you never read, could rise up from your palms like steam. Amosi says nothing as she sits beside you near the fire pit. She hands you half a date from the kitchens. For sugar, she says. You look pale. You chew slowly. The sweetness cuts through the salt in your mouth. A small kindness, like the young noble's voice, like the way the stars blink even over stone walls. You carried history today, without a drop spilled, without a whisper breathed. You walked the line between messenger and shadow, and were not crushed beneath it. So tonight, you rest with steady hands. You rest with your breath still your own. You have survived. Antony arrives, and Alexandria burns. The drums begin before sunrise. Not warning drums, not war drums. Celebration. You don't understand it at first. No one does. But by mid-morning, servants are rushing up and down the mosaic halls with flowers, citrus oil, strings of dried dates, and silver trays. Cleopatra has called a feast. Again, but this one is louder than any before. You hear the reason whispered from one steward to another, like a torch passed hand to hand. Mark Antony has arrived. The name means less to you than to the nobles, but the effect is clear. Rooms are scrubbed until the air smells of vinegar and fig leaves. The musicians are dressed in silk, and every slave in the palace has a task. Yours, wine bearer. Again, this time for the outer courtyard where the celebration begins before sunset. Antony arrives with a procession of armored men, veiled dancers, and gifts, live panthers, crates of Syrian dates, amphorae of spiced wine. The court is dazzled, drowned, bewitched. You glimpse him as you pass with your tray. He is larger than Caesar, louder. He laughs freely. drinks deeply. His eyes shine not with calculation, but with appetite. Cleopatra sits beside him, dressed in shimmering gold silk, a serpent coiled at her wrist, her voice smooth as the Nile at dusk. Together, they look like gods in a painting, but the laughter that fills the courtyard is dangerous. As the feast stretches on, the wine flows heavier, servants trip, plates break, a torch falls too close to the silk canopies. You see a guard stumble into a brazier. He laughs, but the cloth catches fire. Panic flickers. It spreads faster than the flames. Guests scream. Dancers flee. You are pushed aside by a noblewoman whose sleeves are smoldering. She slaps at her arm, wild eyed. The fire is put out quickly, but not before the canopy collapses and blackens the stone tiles, not before the scent of burned silk chokes the jasmine air. You are left holding a tray with two goblets, wine still full, your tunic now streaked with soot. Antony laughs again. What a party, he bellows, arms open as if daring the palace to crumble. Later, Cleopatra walks the blackened tiles in silence. Her guards clean the mess with tight jaws and lowered eyes. No one speaks of the fire again. But the palace feels different now, less sacred, more Roman. You return to the quarters that night reeking of wine and smoke. Amos helps you wring soot from your sleeves. He's a storm, she whispers, and storms do not stay still. The city beyond the palace walls echoes with drunken voices. Alexandria does not sleep. It burns slowly, joyfully, and with teeth bared. You feel it in your bones. The tide has shifted. The queen is no longer alone, and that might be worse than being lonely. Still, your tray did not fall. Your feet stayed beneath you. The fire did not find your robe. You did not scream when others did. And so, for one more day in a palace set alight with its own glory, you have survived. Bread, wine, and silence. The palace is quieter today. Not peaceful, just quieter, like a banquet hall after the music ends. The celebration of Antony's arrival has passed. The silver dishes are back in storage. The dancers have been dismissed. Even the queen hasn't been seen for a day or two. But you are still here, still working, still hungry. The kitchen smells like meat bones boiled too long and old vinegar. You've been assigned to clean the back tables, where the scraps are thrown, where the cutting knives dull, where the breadcrumbs scatter across the floor like tiny secrets. Your stomach aches. It has for days. You count hours now not by sun or bell, but by how often the hollow inside you growls loud enough to hear. There's a half loaf on the butcher's shelf, burnt at the bottom, cracked at the crust, left behind after the midday meal. Not poison, not spoiled, just unwanted. You glance left, glance right. No one's looking. You move fast, quiet as a breath, and break off a chunk the size of your thumb. You slip it into the fold of your tunic and return to scrubbing the table. Your hands tremble a little, not from guilt, from need. Later, in the laundry storeroom, you sit on a pile of unused cloth. You pull out the bread, dry and cracked, and chew slowly. Each bite is work, but it fills something hollow behind your ribs. Aunt Mosey appears at the doorway. She says nothing when she sees you eating, only tosses you a shriveled fig from her apron. Don't choke, she mutters, half smiling. The fig is sweeter than the bread. It softens the edges in your throat. You wash your hands in silence. The water is cold, even in this summer heat. Your reflection ripples in the bronze basin. strange, and unfamiliar. Think of the queen dining in her upper rooms, of Antony pouring honeyed wine into golden cups, of Roman scrolls written about Egypt's wealth and splendor, and here you are, stealing burnt bread, but you're not angry. Not today. You are too tired to be angry, too tired to imagine anything different. In the hall outside, a guard stumbles by, drunk on leftover wine. He doesn't notice you, doesn't even see you. You are invisible again, and in some strange way, that saves you. You return to your quarters with no whip at your back, no salt in your wounds, no name on anyone's scroll. Your body is sore, but fed. Your silence kept you safe. And tonight, in the hush between one feast and the next rebellion, you have survived. Preparing the queen's tomb. The order comes at dawn. You are to report to the eastern cliff road outside the palace walls. Tools will be provided. No explanation is given, but you hear the phrase passed from worker to worker. The queen's tomb. You say nothing, as always, but your breath catches for a moment as you tie your sandals and step out into the morning haze. The sun is already hot as you walk. Alexandria shimmers in the distance, the sea stretching pale and endless behind it. But here on this dusty road carved into the limestone hills, you are surrounded by stone, dust, and silence. You reach the work site and find it smaller than you imagined. A chamber is being cut into the cliff face. Tools litter the ground. Chisels, hammers, wooden sleds for dragging stone. No one says the word tomb aloud anymore, but it lives in every movement, every glance toward the horizon. Your job is to help smooth the inner walls of the chamber. The space is square, unfinished. Dust clings to every breath. The air is dry as old parchment. You spend the first hour hauling buckets of water uphill, then scrubbing stone with a flat brush to clear the loose grit. Your arms shake before midday, but no one stops. There are 4 of you today. One speaks softly, an older man from Thebes. He points to a carved ink in the wall and says, "The queen wanted the symbol placed here, not below, here." His fingers tremble as he speaks. You nod. You carve nothing. You clean. You carry. You listen. A priest arrives near midday. He brings a scroll and murmurs prayers as he walks the chamber perimeter. His voice is low, rhythmic, like waves against a stone tomb. You notice the queen has not visited this site. Not in person, but her presence feels etched into every surface, her name whispered beneath the tools, her image ghosted in the shadow of the door frame. The tomb is not grand, not compared to the old kings of the Nile. No gold ceilings, no hidden chambers, just clean stone, order, silence. You stop for a sip of water beside the scaffolding. The breeze carries the scent of myrrh from the city below, a reminder that life still stirs somewhere outside this cliff. Amosi is not here today. You wonder if she was sent elsewhere, or if she too is beginning to disappear like so many others. The tomb will be done soon. You can feel it. There's a finality to each hammer strike now, like the stones themselves are preparing to rest. You help carry in a painted panel depicting Isis and Osiris. You place it carefully on its side against the inner wall. It is beautiful, faded, fragile. By dusk, your hands are raw. Your legs ache from the climb back down to the palace. You say nothing to the steward who marks your return. You nod once. That's enough. No lash touched you today. But the tomb carved something into you. Not pain, not sorrow, just a sense that something has already ended, even if no one says it. And still, with sore hands, dusty skin, and a silent name, you have survived. The Queen's Mirror. You're summoned before sunrise, not by a steward, not by a guard, but by one of Cleopatra's personal attendants, a silent woman with coal darkened eyes who simply points to you and says, "Come." You obey. Of course you do. You always do. She leads you through a quiet wing of the palace, past courtyards draped in dew soaked linen, past marble statues wrapped in shadow, into a chamber you've never entered before. The Queen's dressing room. You've heard of it. Whispers in the laundry room speak of mirrors from India, of ivory combs and sapphire hairpins, of perfumes that smell like melted sun, of silks so soft they tear if touched wrong. Inside it is quiet. A large bronze mirror stands against the far wall, framed in gold shaped like the wings of Isis. Beneath it, a cushioned bench, a basin of rose water, and there, at the center, sits Cleopatra. Her hair is unbraided, her robe is plain. She holds no scepter, no crown adorns her brow. She is smaller like this, still powerful, but human. She doesn't look at you. She stares into the mirror, as if waiting for it to speak. Her attendant gestures you forward. You're handed a silver comb. Carefully, you step behind the queen, hands trembling slightly as you begin to untangle the strands of her hair. The silence is heavier than any order shouted by a guard. You work slowly, gently, each stroke deliberate. The comb glides through strands that smell of cedar and honey. In the mirror, her eyes meet yours. Not directly, but through the reflection. She says nothing, just watches. He lifts a hand, points to a tray of colored powders beside her. You pass it to her. She dips her fingers into the ochre, traces it beneath her eyes, then the kohl, then the dark red paste for her lips. Layer by layer, she becomes who they expect. But you saw her before the kohl, before the color returned to her cheeks. You saw her face, not her title. Do you think mirrors lie? She asks suddenly. Her voice is low, calm, not unkind. You freeze. The comb halts mid-stroke. You don't answer. You're not sure if she wants you to. She smiles faintly. They show us what others see, but not what we carry. She leans forward, studying her reflection. Not the weight, not the cracks. You resume combing, silent. The mirror shows her in gold and shadow. But behind that image, you see something else now. A woman pressed between worlds. When her hair is finished, she rises. Her robe is replaced by silk. Bracelets are added, sandals tied. The queen is complete again. The mirror now reflects a symbol, not a soul. She turns to leave, but just before stepping past you, she stops, looks down at your hands. You were gentle, she says, and then she's gone. Her attendant motions you out. The bronze mirror stands alone again, catching the first glint of morning sun. You return to the lower halls with the scent of rosewater on your fingers and the echo of her voice in your mind. Mirrors don't lie, but they don't speak the truth either. You spoke no words today. You gave no opinions, but you touched the queen. You saw the human beneath the crown, and you left with your life. You have survived. The last banquet. The palace is too quiet tonight. No music, no scent of roasted lamb or baked figs, no laughter bouncing from the columns. But the banquet has still been called. You saw the notice posted at midday, written in the Queen's own hand. Tonight we honor the gods, it said. Nothing more. The kitchens prepared only half the usual dishes: flatbread, dried fish, a few dates soaked in vinegar and honey, wine, yes, but only a little. You are assigned again as a server in the upper dining hall, but when you arrive, it is nearly empty. No nobles, no Romans, only the Queen and a few of her closest women. She sits at the head of the long table, dressed not in gold or silk, but in simple linen. Her hair is undone, her eyes tired. The lamps flicker along the walls. Their flames are small tonight. Everything feels closer, more fragile. You move between the tables, refilling a goblet here, offering olives there. But no one really eats, and no one talks above a whisper. At one point, a servant from the scroll chamber brings word to the Queen. You see him kneel beside her. You see her nod slowly, almost without hearing him. The man leaves. Her hand remains still on the table for a long time after. You pass near enough once to hear her voice. She's not speaking to anyone in particular, just saying softly, "They'll take it all." And then, with the faintest of smiles, "Let them try." She stands before the meal ends. No farewell, no decree, just a nod, and she leaves the hall. One by one, the others follow. You and three other slaves are left to clear the table. You do so in silence. The bread is untouched, the wine only half gone. You steal a fig as you work. No one notices. No one cares. Outside, the night is colder than usual. Alexandria's wind smells of the sea, but not in a good way. It smells like ships, like movement, like endings. In the slave quarters, no one asks what happened at the banquet. But Amazi does speak one sentence before lying down. She's preparing to go where the Romans can't follow. You don't ask what she means. You're too tired and too afraid you already understand. You lie awake longer than usual, listening to the wind drag across the tile, to the crackle of a torch nearly out, to the sound of a palace waiting to be taken. And somehow, despite the stillness, despite the weight in the air like a storm behind a curtain, you are still here. You have survived. The Roman Parade. You were handed a strip of purple cloth before sunrise. "Wear this across your shoulder," the steward says. "All parade servants wear purple today." His voice is clipped. He does not look at you. You do as instructed. The cloth itches. You haven't worn color in years. It feels like someone else's skin. Today is a public procession. Cleopatra and Mark Antony will parade through the streets of Alexandria, styled as gods. Dionysus and Isis reborn. That's what the nobles say. That's what the Roman guests are meant to believe. You are assigned to stand along the boulevard, just beyond the gates. Your job, to throw petals as the queen passes, and to keep your eyes down. The palace is a hive of motion this morning. Horses are groomed, garlands strung, musicians gather at the gates, and linen dyed deep as wine. You catch sight of Antony before the parade begins. He's laughing again, always laughing, draped in lion skins. His arms glint with bronze cuffs. He looks more like a drunken actor than a ruler. Beside him stands Cleopatra, tall, still. Her dress is silver and violet. A crown shaped like a sun disk rests upon her braided hair. She says nothing as the chariots roll forward. The crowd gathers quickly. From every corner of the city they come: farmers, merchants, children with figs sticky in their hands. They line the street 2 bodies deep, watching. Trumpets sound. The gates open. The queen's chariot leads. Behind her, Antony, his horses restless. Then nobles, dancers, and finally, servants like you. You scatter petals from a clay bowl. As instructed, white blossoms fall over wheels and sandals. The dust of the road clings to your ankles. Your arm aches by the halfway point. A boy beside you whispers, "They look like statues." You glance sideways at him, then back at the parade. He's not wrong. They don't look like rulers today. They look like sculptures made to be remembered. At one point, the queen turns her head slightly toward the crowd. Her eyes pass over the sea of faces, not stopping, not softening, but seeing. You wonder what she sees. Love, loyalty, or 1,000 people waiting to choose whichever master comes next. The procession turns back toward the palace near dusk. The musicians are tired, the horses impatient, the petals are gone, but the illusion holds, just barely. Back in the servants' courtyard, you strip off the purple cloth. You fold it and hand it in. The steward doesn't thank you. No one does. Hamosi sits beside you as the stars begin to rise. Do you think she believes it? She asks. That this show means anything. You don't answer. You're not sure. But part of you wonders if believing is the only way to keep from breaking. You played your part. You threw the petals. You looked down when ordered. And when the crowd cheered, you did not flinch. You have survived. The feast of Isis, the fair. The priest touches your shoulder at first light. Come, he says simply. His robe smells of myrrh and ash. His hand is cold on your tunic. Today is the feast of Isis, a holy day long kept in Egypt's oldest temples. But this one is to be held in the palace itself. The queen has ordered it, not for the public, not for spectacle, but for herself. You are led to the upper shrine chamber, a small echoing room, draped in white linen and colored glass. The scent of frankincense is already thick in the air. Candles burn low on stone altars. A statue of Isis sits at the center, carved in obsidian, holding the Incan throne crown. She is veiled in garlands. Offerings surround her feet, figs, wine, sweet bread shaped like feathers. Your task is simple. Assist the priestesses. Light candles when they go out. Bring more water when the basins run dry. Handle the sacred without touching what you shouldn't. You step softly, speak not at all. The air hums with chanting, a slow, rolling song sung in a tongue older than your name. It rises and falls like tide against stone. Cleopatra enters after the third verse. She is barefoot. Her dress is white. Her hair is unbound but crowned with a simple circlet of lapis. She kneels before the statue of Isis. No guards, no fanfare, just her, the goddess, and the quiet eyes of the room. One priestess anoints her forehead with oil. Another lays a lotus blossom in her hands. Cleopatra closes her eyes. The chanting continues, slower now, like breath. You kneel too, not by instruction, not out of belief, just because the stillness asks it of you. For a moment, the room feels full, not of people, but of presence, something watching, something remembering. You wonder what Cleopatra prays for. Not victory, not anymore. Perhaps peace, perhaps mercy, or maybe simply time. The ritual ends with silence. No final words, no applause, just the soft sound of robes shifting and candles flickering as she stands. She walks past you as she leaves. Her eyes meet yours. Briefly. No order, no question, only recognition. She knows you were there that morning in the mirror room. She knows you have seen her with the paint removed, and now here unpainted again. You rise and begin to gather the empty bowls. You extinguish the last flame. You wash your hands in a basin marked with lotus petals and salt. You breathe in the last of the incense before it vanishes forever. Amuzi meets you near the stairwell outside the chamber. Did you hear her speak? She asks. You shake your head. No, you whisper, but she meant everything. That night, as the city celebrates with fireworks and music, you sit in the servants' courtyard alone, watching the sky flash and bloom, your ears still full of chanting. You do not know the gods. You do not trust prayers, but you trust your body, your silence, your instinct. And tonight, those are still yours. You have survived. Storm over the library, and you were assigned to the scroll chamber today, a rare task, usually reserved for trained scribes or quiet-handed servants trusted not to read too much. You wonder who made the mistake that allowed your name to be chosen. You say nothing. You follow the steward through the palace corridors, down a quiet hall that hums with the faint perfume of parchment and oil lamps. The walls here are lined with shelves, tall as trees, packed with scrolls bound in linen and wax. Some are written in Greek, others in the flowing strokes of Egyptian priests. A few rare ones bear the sharp, boxy letters of Latin. You're told to dust the lower shelves and rewrap any scrolls with frayed bindings. Work slow, work clean. You kneel beside the bottom shelf and begin to unwind brittle linen. The scroll beneath smells of age and smoke. It bears a stamp of the palace treasury, likely a record of trade or tribute. Nothing grand, but real. The hours pass quietly. The room is warm. The flame in the corner lamp dances lazily against the gold-plated inscription over the door. To remember is to reign. But outside, the wind is rising. You hear it through the stone slats of the upper windows, low at first, then louder. A storm? No, something else. Then a shout from the corridor, then two running feet. The crash of something dropped in panic. The steward bursts in, face pale, fire. The word freezes your breath. He grabs a basket of scrolls from a shelf near the doorway. Take what you can, he shouts. Only the queen's titles. Leave the others. Smoke curls under the doorframe before you reach it. You choke once. Cover your mouth with the edge of your tunic. The room is no longer quiet. It screams. You grab a scroll at random. The name Isis is scrolled across its outer sleeve in red ink. You don't know what it contains, but it feels important. You tuck it inside your belt and keep moving. Other slaves rush past you in the halls. Some carry nothing. Others hold wooden crates filled with half-burned papyrus. A woman sobs near the stairs, clutching a scroll so tightly it crumples in her arms. You hear someone yell from deeper in the wing. The Romans are in the West Archive. And then another voice. They're burning it. You do not wait to hear more. You run, not toward the blaze, but away. Down a side hall you know leads to the queen's old herb chambers. Quiet, forgotten, you reach the chamber breathless. Smoke still drifts in thin lines from the ceiling vents. You collapse behind a stone bench and clutch the scroll to your chest, not from fear of punishment, but from grief. Somewhere behind you, Alexandria's wisdom is turning to ash. You don't know how many scrolls were lost. Hundreds? Thousands? Some of them were older than pyramids, older than kings. The queen will be told soon. You do not envy the messenger. This more than battles, more than betrayal, this loss will cut deepest. You return the next morning to the library's ruins. The outer wall still stands, but the inside is charred black. Scroll ends curl like leaves after frost. Ash settles on everything like snow. No one tells you to clean, but you kneel anyway. You sweep embers into baskets. You sort through scraps that once held knowledge older than memory. Amos joins you halfway through the morning, says nothing, just kneels beside you and begins picking through what remains. Two silent servants in a tomb of thought. You don't save the world today, but you saved one scroll. You held it through flame and fear. You didn't let go, and that, in this place, that is survival. You live on for good. The gates are open, but not by command, not by ceremony. They were broken, forced, shattered from the outside. Rome has entered. You hear it before you see it. The clatter of armored sandals on marble floors, the bark of Latin shouted through the inner halls, the creak of wooden shields scraping against stone walls, never meant to be touched by invaders. You are hiding behind a curtain, just off the eastern colonnade, heart still, breath shallow. You are not alone. Amosi is beside you, her eyes wide, unblinking. She clutches a satchel filled with nothing but dry cloth and a dull blade. It is not a weapon, just something to hold. The sounds grow louder. Rome is not gentle. Rome does not knock. Someone screams in the next hallway. You flinch. Amosi grabs your wrist. We have to move, she whispers. Now. You follow, through the garden of drowned gods, past the scenting chamber, past the broken mosaic floor you once scrubbed until your knees bled, past memory itself. In the servant's passage, you see him, Mark Antony, or what's left of him, slumped against a wall, pale as linen, a sword at his side, blood on his hands, but not fresh, not enough to save. He looks at you, but does not see you. His lips part to speak, but no words come out. Just a rattle. Amose pulls you onward. Don't stop, she says. They're nearly inside the queen's chamber. You don't ask. You don't look back. You don't want to know what she means, but a part of you already does. The walls of the palace echo now, not with laughter, not with music, but with the boots of men who do not speak your language, who do not see you as anything but part of the floor. You reach the back gate. The garden wall is low here. You scramble over it, skin scraping against stone, your breath caught between panic and disbelief. You land hard on the dust outside the palace grounds, free, not safe, not saved, but not trapped. Amosi helps you to your feet. She says nothing. She is shaking. You are too. You do not know where to go. The city is full of smoke. Soldiers line the streets. The harbor is blocked. The queen, wherever she is no longer in control. But your feet move anyway, down an alley, behind a wall, toward the old granary where no one looks twice at a stranger, where silence still lives. You collapse behind a stack of clay pots. Your chest heaves. Your hands tremble, but you are breathing. Cleopatra is gone, or soon will be. The palace is no longer hers, no longer yours, no longer Egypt's. But you are still here. You live, not as a queen, not as a conqueror, but as a witness, as a breath, as someone who endured, and for one more day, one more hour, one more heartbeat in a crumbling empire, you have survived.